So you're thinking about buying a rental property here in Davis, California. And whether you're a person who lives in the Bay Area and you want to start investing in real estate, but you don't want to be too risky, the Bay Area is really expensive. The down payments are incredibly expensive. It's difficult for the metrics and the math to make sense on those investments. This video is going to be a great option for you, and I strongly consider you investing into Davis. The other part is if you're a parent that has a student that's going to be attending the university here and is going to be living here for 4 years, sometimes even more years if they do additional schooling like vet school, they could be here for 7 years. And if you're weighing the pros and cons of, hey, what would my life look like if my child rented for 4 to 7 years versus if we bought a property for them now, we allowed them to be the primary tenant, rent the additional rooms out to their friends and have them pay down your principal. You get the appreciation on the property. And at the end of that 7 years, you walk away with something to put in your pocket as compared to just having them rent the entire time you're here. This video really is for you. My name's CJ. I work with investors all the time, specifically in Davis. I believe in it so much that my wife and I actually bought a property as a rental here in Davis about 4 years ago in 2020. And what we'll do in this video is we're going to jump right into the metrics and the sheet and how we look at properties here in our area and how to analyze them very quickly to determine whether or not this is going to be a viable option for me to purchase. If you have any questions about this document, please let me know. I'd be happy to walk you through all of the metrics together. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. I'm going to show you this exact property. This is one that I purchased back in 2020. This is located on Chestnut Lane, which is kind of the central part of Davis. And if you look at Davis as a whole, it's not a very big municipality. This whole area is the university, but the vast majority of classes all take place kind of in this area here. And then this is your downtown area, kind of all your farmers market, all of the fun places for dining and eating and entertainment. So this is really your central hub for the entire town. And a lot of people ask me, hey, I want to buy a property that's biking distance to campus. I wouldn't worry so much about the distance from campus because generally speaking, everything's bikeable. If you're anywhere in this area, you're going to be biking to campus either way. But to drive across town, it takes 10 minutes. So there's great parking that you can take this freeway, jump right over here, get off. There's parking lots in this area here. There's additional parking lots here. So focus more so on the property, less on location. If it's a location that I don't think is great, I'll talk you through that. But there's far more good locations than really any bad locations. So don't focus too much on that. And if you take a look at it, this particular property, you see it's 4 bedrooms right now. When we bought it, it was actually 3 bedrooms. And I specifically wanted to get this property. I call this model the 1, 2, 3, 4 model. That's because usually the square footage is 1,234 square feet. And if you see one of these pop up on the market, take a good look at it. And the reason why is because when you buy these properties and they're 3 bedrooms, if you look at it, this is what the property looked like originally. When you walk inside, it has this primary living room space right off the entrance of the home. And if you look next to the kitchen, this is the garage over here. This is a secondary living room. And what we thought is, hey, this is a fantastic place to add a wall. Add a wall in here. We took this out, just made this a doorway, added a window, and then we had a 4-bedroom rental. And the difference between a 3-bedroom and a 4-bedroom rental in Davis is substantial, and we could charge more for that additional bedroom. Bed count's really important. So when you're looking at properties in town, if you do see something that has a secondary living space or a funky space that you could convert into a bedroom, pretty easy process to do that. I can walk you through that if you have questions about that process with permitting it through the city of Davis, but I highly, highly recommend. And the difference that we paid, to close this up, add a wall, add a door, add a closet, we made that money back in the difference in rental pricing within, I'd say, 3 to 5 months, just with the cost that we were able to add on top of our current rent. So fantastic option. I'll kind of show you what we did here. This is the property after it was done. What we did is we came in and we changed the floors. You do not need to change the floors. I wanted to do that because we were going to be painting in the carpets world. You don't have to do that. The expectations for rentals in Davis is as long as things are working, it's going to rent. You want to obviously keep your properties in good condition. But, with that said, the demand for rentals in Davis is so high that you're going to see people are going to be applying head over heels just to get into some place to live within the municipality. We also painted some of the cabinets, but this is the area here that we added that fourth bedroom. You can see we added the closet, and when we took out the carpet, we just painted the walls and sprayed the roof to make it a little bit more bright and open. But this one room was allowing us to be able to charge substantially more for this home in terms of rental pricing. A couple other little things we did is we just cleaned up the backyard, made it super simple. You don't need to do this. Again, this is just things that I did. But yeah, and that's how we looked at this property. So before we actually purchase the property, the first thing that I always do is I go into this little Excel sheet that we have and we run the numbers. Hey, do the numbers make sense from a financial perspective? And then we do a 10-year analysis that comes out of this. This sheet's really easy to use. I'll leave it down in the comments if you want to download this document. All you have to do is fill out the areas in blue. It's a fairly simple process, and we'll do that together right now. So we bought this, and again, we bought this in 2020. I wanted to use an example for my own personal portfolio. And interest rates have changed, but I want to also mention that interest rates, yes, have gone up. They should go down shortly, but rental prices have gone up dramatically as well from what we were currently charging. And these are actual numbers from what we were doing when we had this property rented. So the purchase price was $505. Okay, that's what we got it for. You do have to put 20% down if you're buying a rental property, and you can just safely assume that you're going to have a 2% closing cost. That's just a good number. 30 years is your term for your mortgage. And then it breaks it down. You type in your interest rate. Again, we bought this in 2020 when interest rates were very low, and we got it for 3.38%. And then your taxes and your insurance. A lot of people have hiccups with this, and a really good way to kind of run these numbers is just go over to Zillow Mortgage Calculator, type in your purchase price. It'll show you these numbers here, taxes and insurance. Now, again, I'm using numbers that we did when we actually owned the property. We ended up selling it eventually down the road. I think I mentioned that, the math just made sense. There was a crazy amount of appreciation for us. And we ran the numbers and said, hey, it's probably a good time to sell it. And we liquidated the asset. But you can see here, these were my taxes and insurance for this particular property. The only other thing you're really going to enter in is your rent that you're going to be charging for it. Okay. Your rent, that's what we were charging at the time, $32.70. That's very light compared to now. If you're wanting to understand a really quick estimate, Zillow actually has a really good rental estimate on any property. You can see here the rent estimate is $33.33. Now that's really low for right now. Primarily because this property is not on the market for sale, so they just haven't really updated these numbers. If you click on any other active listing, it'll give you a fairly accurate rent estimate. I always cross-reference it with this site called Rentometer, and you type in the address, type in the bed count, bath count, and it'll give you the average, the median, the 25th and 75th percentile. This is probably pretty close to what a 4-bedroom would go for, especially a single family home. Those are really difficult to come across. So you can use that as your baseline. But for our particular analysis right now, we're just going to stick with the numbers that we did. The only other thing that you have to take into consideration is your management. Management can range from like 5 to 12% a month. At Fievel Real Estate, we also do property management. We manage properties for 8%. Just so you know, too, that does include finding tenants. We don't charge you a month's rent or a half-month rent to find tenants. Property management is management. That includes finding tenants for the space. And for vacancy, generally speaking, it's 5% in most parts of the country. In Davis, for a single family home, I'd put 0%. You will always have this rented. For this particular home, when we put it on the market the 2 times that we had it up for rent, we took it off the market after about a week when we had about 40 to 60 applicants for each of those times. You'll find the blend is about 50% are students and the other 50% are working professionals. So you really do get your pick of the litter there, determining who's going to be your tenant, and make sure that you get the right people in space. And then maintenance, a good number is just use 5%, and we're basing this all off of the rental price, just kind of what to estimate. And I found this to be fairly accurate, about $164 a month. Granted, you don't pay that each month. It usually comes out like, a big bill if you have to change an appliance, at 8 months in or something along those lines. And then you have your rent. And then this sheet really quickly breaks down, your total rent, your PITI, which is your mortgage payment, which is your principal, your interest, your taxes, and your insurance, your expenses, and it kind of breaks down your net income on a monthly and on an annual basis. If you want to dive a little bit more deeply into it, go into your cap rate and your ROI. And then here's the other thing is it breaks down the 10-year analysis. And some of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that, if you're buying this property for your student to live in or just as an investment property, you know, there are some benefits. The biggest thing is that part of the payment that you make each month pays down your principal. So essentially, your tenants are in place and they're making payments for you, but you're also contributing a portion of that towards your principal pay down, right? The debt that you owe on the house. In addition to that, each year you're getting appreciation on the property. So what we do is we kind of use the traditional numbers here with our average annual appreciation of 5%. Well, your property value in the first year is 505. In the second year, it's 530,000. In the third year, 556, and that's pretty accurate. Davis generally does a little bit better than 5% a year. I'd say they're closer to about 7%, but I think this is a safe estimate, and that's usually what most investors will use as kind of a benchmark for them when looking at properties. The other thing that I really like to make sure you're aware of is that not only are you getting appreciation in your property value, your mortgage payment is going to be staying the same every year for the next 30 years. It's not going to change unless you change insurance or something along those lines. But your rental prices will continue to grow. And so we have annual rent appreciation or annual rent increase of 4%. So that means each year you're raising your rent by 4%. You're allowed to do a little bit more than that. I think 4% is a good number, especially if you have good tenants in place. You want to keep them happy. Just be transparent with them. But you'll see, your property value is going up every year. Your rental prices are going up every year. So everything that you're seeing gets better and better as time goes on, and you'll see this numbers kind of crunch down to 10 years. In addition to that, we kind of break down the tax deductions and the depreciable value of your home. That's a straight line depreciation of your property, which helps you be able to write off some of that income that you have. Talk to your accountant about this. This is probably a better conversation to have with them, but I think once you dive into that, you'll see the real value of the property as well too. So once we run those numbers, you're able to really break everything down and kind of say, hey, is this a good investment? And I think after looking at this on your total return on investment, in year one, if you include your debt pay down, your tax deduction, your appreciations, and your net income, right? Your net income goes up each year because you're raising rental prices each year. You'll start to see the value of the property make total sense as compared to if you have a child that's attending the university and just paying rent to an apartment complex. You don't see any of this value. So be sure to speak with your accountant and make sure you're taking advantage of all of these attributes with properties here in Davis. So before we let you go, we also like to mention that in addition to our property management services that we offer here in Davis, we are also a full-service real estate brokerage. We help our clients analyze and buy rental properties as well as sell them when it's time to liquidate that asset. One thing that's special about our particular company is we offer a flat fee full service model, meaning when we sell your home, the charge for our commissions paid is just $4,995, which translates into tens of thousands of dollars saved to you, the seller, when it comes time to sell your home, making your investment even better in the long run. Look, we'd love to work with you. If you have questions or you'd want to reach out to us, please feel free to do so, and have a blessed day.